So welcome everybody to today's cabinet meeting, which is especially and specifically for the budget. So item one is apologies. We've had apologies from Councillor Brownridge and Councillor Hussain. Yep. Item two is urgent business. I've not been notified of any items for urgent business. Thank you. Item three, declarations of interest. Does any member have an interest to declare in any item on the agenda? Item four is public question time. Thank you. Item five, minutes of the previous meeting. Does Cabinet agree the minutes of the meeting held on the 20th of January 2025? Okay, thank you. Item six is the draft minutes of the governance strategy and resources scrutiny board held on the 29th of January 2025. Councillor Jabbar, the admin budget proposals.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. Chair, the administration budget proposal were taken to the overview scrutiny meeting on the 29th of January, as you said. We made an extensive presentation and went through all the proposals by portfolio holders together with the senior officers from each of the portfolio areas. There were lots of questions, and at the end, the committee unanimously recommended to Cabinet to approve the proposals that were before them, the entirety of the proposal, all the proposals. I have nothing further to add, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Jabbar. And I think from my perspective, like I attended that scrutiny meeting, and I think, you know, the local government settlement, like I said at that meeting as well, is a huge step in the right direction. And the fact that we're going to be moving to like multi-year settlements is a really good thing. And that's something that we're really grateful to this Labour government for, because it's been a long call actually from local government, regardless of which party you're from. If you talk to anybody at the local government association, we've always said this will be effective, impactful, and we'll be able to make better decisions that have long-term benefits for our residents. So that's really, really great. And we also know though that in the context of this, when we talk about that, that doesn't mean that it takes us away from the challenges that we face today or the impact that the cuts have had on local government over the last 14 years. So I think that that is something that we should keep in our minds actually, because when we talk about the welcome news of the settlement, we have to like put it into the context of the kind of challenge we've got now. We've still got a budget pressure. Yes, the recovery grant has helped, but it means that we're still in an element or a time or in a period of time where we're still going to have to make some really, really tough decisions, because the sort of benefits of the multi-year settlement and this and the single settlement is going to only be able to be seen in a few years' time. It's not going to be something that we see next week or the week after. So we're still in a position where we have to make really, really difficult decisions. And, you know, I have to also acknowledge as well, like I did at that scrutiny meeting that, you know, it makes you reflect on the work of officers and members of the administration over those last 14 years, wherever they are and whoever they may be, because actually to manage circumstances where you know that the demand is still there, the pressure is still there, the need is higher than it's ever been and continues to grow, it's not been an easy task. And actually we've been able to deliver regardless of that. And that doesn't mean to say it was easy, but it means that we will still always try to do the right thing. So I think what's really important and what has been beneficial is like the amount of work that we've done together as an administration to work through this budget, to make sure that we understand the scale of the challenge, but we try to put our Labour stamp on it everywhere we can and do the right thing by the residents. And like I said at the scrutiny meeting as well, that, you know, there's 2 times, according to me, that I think public service should be there for our residents. It's when you're first born and it's when you're in your elderly years. And if you're not there for those people that are the most vulnerable at that time, then it's sort of like it defeats the purpose of public service. So I think, you know, we've done everything we can to minimise impact on residents from the saving proposals put forward. And once again, once this budget is agreed at full council, we're going to have to work even more harder to make sure that, you know, services work, that we continue to be more efficient and continue to provide value for money to our residents. So I want to thank you, Councillor Jabbar, for all the work you've done, and to your team for all the work that they've done, but actually to officers across the council who in general for like sticking by everybody over these last 14 years. And I hope like in a year or two we'll be able to sit here and think things have been a bit easier and we've been able to continue to make a difference. But a huge thanks from me and the administration in that regard. So does Cabinet agree with the minutes of the Governance Strategy and Resources Scrutiny Board meeting that was held on the 29th of January? Agreed. Thank you. Actually, I should have asked, now that I've had my say, does any other member wish to speak? No, yeah, sorry, it just made me a bit passionate because I just think it's been tough, hasn't it? Okay, thank you. So item 7 is the draft minutes of governance for Strategy and Resources Scrutiny Board held on the 6th of February 2025. So once again, the Conservative group put forward a set of budget proposals to scrutiny that I can only describe as like unserious and really, really cheap attempts at political point scoring, which like fits in line with the mantra that they have. And the Director of Finance outlined that proposals were high risk and had expressed concerns about their potential impact on our bottom line. So I'm pleased that scrutiny saw through this and once again recommended that all of the Conservative group's proposals be rejected. And actually that's what actually happens when you're in opposition, because you can tell that people aren't really serious at the way they look at the budget. They're not serious in the way they scrutinise the administration's budget, and they're not really serious about providing really good public services to our residents. It's a bit of a joke to them. It's a headline for a leaflet, and actually I'd have more respect if I thought they had like robust due diligence on our administration budget or provided an alternative, and they failed to do that, which doesn't surprise me, but I think our residents certainly deserve better. However, there was a recommendation from the Scrutiny Board for Cabinet to review the Liberal Democrats' proposals. So I'm going to hand over to you, Councillor Jabbar, to talk us through that, but I do want to come back and make some comments on that, if that's okay, after you've spoken.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So, as you said, at the Overview Scrutiny Board on the 6th, there were two alternative budget that was presented, one by Liberal Democrats and one by the Conservatives. The Liberal Democrats' budget proposal were reviewed by the board, and they recommended that we consider them. They didn't recommend that we approve them, they just recommended that we consider them. So I've got few comments to make on that, Chair, and then if I can please say something about the Conservative one as well. Yeah. So firstly, I think Lib Dems, I just want to say thank you to them for putting a budget proposal forward. Thank you to them for agreeing our council tax increases, and they went to some lengths to provide a detailed, a credible paper that was scrutinised by the ONS members. I think in terms of the overall, Chair, so they were wanting to make a change of £645,000 compared to ours. So that equates to 0.2% of the total budget. In other words, 99.8% of the budget either they accept or they didn't change. And many of the proposals for investment and saving were carried forward from previously. In terms of capital, they were suggesting that we put some money into TA to deal with the crisis there, which I have no problem with. But unfortunately, if you look at the details of their proposal, then there isn't actually any timetable, any project plan. And under those circumstances, Chair, I have some serious difficulties in terms of recommending those. So whilst recognizing that they have put in a credible and detailed budget proposal, alternative budget proposal, albeit most of it from previous years, and in terms of the context of the total budget, a very small amount, I am recommending to the Cabinet, Chair, that we don't accept the proposals outlined in the papers and in the minutes of the meeting of the 6th of February. So perhaps, Chair, if we could deal with that element first
Yeah.
and get a decision from the cabinet.
Yeah, but before I go to cabinet to see if any member wishes to speak, again, like this is really, really frustrating. I don't understand. Public finances are in the public domain. The budget year on year is in the public domain. The challenges and the way we present the budget is in the public domain. The opportunity to scrutinise and contact any cabinet member or officer is something that's always been available. And I don't understand why people make such a mockery of a system that is there to benefit so many people, but actually them as an effective opposition, it's year on year on year the same proposals come forward with a budget which just tinker on the edges. They're not even meaningful in any way. If we could just tinker on the edges and make ends meet, we'd be doing that ourselves. But this is really, really serious business, and I just really take like so much. I just find it incredibly frustrating because it's disrespectful for all of us who spend day and night trying to do the best for our residents under huge amounts of pressure, but also things like, you know, they want to go and attack employees in the first instance. So the fact that they, you know, that one of their proposals is changes to staff terms and conditions required for the car allowance and mileage proposals. I mean, that wouldn't even probably realise a saving at all, and to face several challenges on them. And I have to say, not that I think that's there for officers if they need it, and for staff if they need it, and it's something that's legitimate for them to use. But almost raising it in a way that they do as a proposal is to say that it's a sort of privilege that they have, or it's like, you know, complimentary, or it's like, you know, a benefit. It's not. These people work really, really hard in really difficult circumstances. These are some of our social workers who do outreach work, some of our staff members that work with the most vulnerable in our communities, and actually it's not a privilege or a benefit for them, and most of them don't claim it anyway. And that's the thing. It's like you can't keep like attacking your own employees. And I think there's something across the council, across the opposition, that they don't understand, that the people, our staff, are we're their employer. So we need to show them some respect in that regard. And I just think, just in general, like they make references, like one of the proposals was, we should spend more money in Oldham. And I'd like to point out to them again that we try to maximise it, to make sure that we have money that we so for example, we do that anyway. So only I mean, we're always looking for opportunities. We do that through our social procurement stuff, through our social value stuff, but we do, where there's opportunities to make sure that the Oldham pound stays in Oldham, we maximise on that all the time. So we're going to be shortly launching the Oldham training platform, and that's going to make sure that Oldham businesses benefit, and we create local supply chains, and we're helping to keep the Oldham pound within the borough. And that's been co-designed by the council and a local technology business called IMS Systems, who are based in the Hive. Another fantastic thing that we're doing in Oldham. So we do this already, but if they'd care to learn about what the council actually does, what the benefits are, instead of talking the town down all the time and making people feel really bad about where they live, that they'd understand this, and actually they would welcome it and look for ways to promote this kind of stuff. So on consideration, like, I just think, you know, from what you said as well, Councillor Jabbar, and the fact that what the scrutiny board did say was that we can have an opportunity here to actually just like review the proposals, not agree them, by the way, or consider them, I think is testament to say that I think, in my opinion, I would never be proposing to agree with this anyway. So does any other cabinet member wish to speak? No? All right, so based on that then, Councillor Jabbar's recommendation to reject, as cabinet members agree to reject the Liberal Democrat proposals? Agreed. Thank you. Item 8 is the Revenue Monitor and Capital... Go on, sorry.
Can I just say a couple of words about the Conservatives one?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. So they did put as you said, right, a very difficult budget proposals. I mean, first of all, they're freezing council tax. In the past, they have said, right, that they will run with the adult social care precept, but this year they're proposing even to freeze that. Now, if you recall, the last Tory government actually brought in the adult social care precept to help with the rising costs and demand, and now they're even saying, no, we don't want to do that. So I'll leave you to decide why they're proposing that. This will mean that there is 5.5 million minimum required to balance the budget. Now, in their papers, they actually suggest a saving of just over 5 million, 5.2 million. So they don't actually cover the entire amount. So which means that they'll deep into reserves. Now, we know the situation with reserve recently, and they've been complaining about reserves too. So they want to use reserves to balance the budget. In terms of capital, I'll just pick two things, Chair, and then I'll leave it at that. In terms of capital, they want to use the unallocated budget for the next 3 years and take all of it. Now, that's not a financially prudent thing to do, because we know that when we go out to tender, there's always been recently an increase in cost. We've seen cost increase by up to 30% of the original estimate. So they want to use all of it. So we'll have no wriggle room at all. And in that case, right, they will be overspending that budget too. And one of the things they want to do is in year 26-27, they want to build a new health centre in Saddleworth, which is fine, but they're only allocated £3.225 million. And now, I'm not aware, Chair, anywhere where you can find, you can build a health centre for this amount of money. People talk to me that it's not 1/4 of the money required to build a health centre. And that just illustrates the amount of work they've actually put into this, which is very little, and plucked numbers out of the air, Chair, to produce an alternative budget proposal. So unlike the previous one, I can't say this is credible, and that's why unanimously, again, not unanimously, sorry, the ONS board on majority decided to not recommend this. I'll leave it at that, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 8, Revenue Monitor Capital Investment Programme 24-25, Q3 December 24.
Thank you, Chair. So we bring this report regularly to you to give you a snapshot of the expenditure both in revenue and capital. So this is for the period ending 31st of December 2024. What this shows is a significant reduction in the projected overspend from 20 million to 14 million, and this is largely to do with our revision of the MRP policy, which has given us £5.62 million. This is a technical accountancy thing that we've done, Chair, to manage the current situation. Nearly all council do that. In terms of the pressure, we're still seeing increased pressure in adult social care, children's services, and in TA. The numbers are in the report. I'm happy, if you like, for me to go through those. I think one thing for sure, that for many years now, colleagues in all services, in adult social care, children's services, and TA have been trying to find ways of managing this. And I think it's worth, Chair, for me to highlight the work particularly done in adult social care and children's services, where although we're not actually seeing the reduction in cost, but we will see the reduction in future years. So, for example, having our own social care workers as opposed to agency workers, having our own placement properties in Oldham as opposed to sending kids outside the borough. Also reviewing the way we work, redesigning the services. And I think those are major tasks colleagues in both services have done. And with your permission, Chair, I'd like to thank Jane Radcliffe, Barbara Brownage, Julie and Shahid Mushtaq for the work they've done in this area. And I think in future years, it will deliver some significant changes. And had it not been for them, I think our expenditure overspend would have been even higher. In terms of the capital spend, We have reduced the proposed expenditure for this financial year by about £12 million. So the total spend for this this financial year, is 87.26 million. And at the end of December, the expenditure was 53.4847 million, which is 61% of the total expenditure. We believe that we're able to achieve the spend of 87 million going forward. Any slippages will be carried forward to the following year. I don't think, Chair, there's any further elaboration I want to make, but obviously I'm quite happy to take any questions, and Chris, who is the Assistant Director for Finance, is here, and together we'll try to answer any questions colleagues may have.
I think that was quite thorough. Thank you, Councillor Jabbar. Does any member wish to speak on that item? No? Does Cabinet agree with the recommendations as set out in the report? Thank you so much. Okay, item 9 is revenue budget 25-26 and 26-27, and the medium-term financial strategy 25-26 to 29-30. Councillor Jabbar.
Thank you, Chair. So this is the main item of the evening, Chair. So it sets out how we produce a balanced budget for the next financial year, and it gives a projection for future years too. So in terms of the balanced budget, Chair, we have produced a report which suggests a balanced budget for the next financial year. And as you said in your earlier comments, Chair, it's happened because of a lot of hard work for all the colleagues in this room and beyond. And I want to echo the thanks that you've given to officers and members for their hard work. Without that, we wouldn't have been able to do that. And Chair, can I say thank you to you for the leadership you've given in this space to get this sorted, because I know many council who are still trying to wrestle with the budget, and they're nowhere near finding a balanced budget. So I really appreciate the help you've given. I think also, Chair, that it's important to acknowledge the extra resources that we've got from the new Labour government. Our core spending has increased by 5.6% from last year to this year, which translates to £25.4 million, which includes the increase of council tax by 4.99%. The core revenue recovery grant, we got the maximum £8 million, and I'm correct in saying we've got nearly £19 million of extra new resources, net grant we've got from the government. So without that, it would not have been possible for us to balance the budget in the way that we have done. Despite that, Chair, as you again highlighted in your opening comment, the challenge that we've got, the financial challenge we've got, is very real. And this is illustrated by the figures that I'm about to give you. So next year, we'll require additional £7.8 million of savings, which are included in the papers, which went to scrutiny and will go to Council on the 6th of March. On top of that, from previous year, we've got £6 million of saving that's to be achieved in 25-26. And in addition, we had also £6 million approved previously. So if you take the total amount, is £20 million of savings required next financial year, which equates to 7% of the entire budget. Now, that just illustrates the amount of saving. And had it not been for the additional saving, additional grants that we've got, Chair, it would have been really difficult for us. Sadly, it equates to 120 full-time equivalent posts. 80% of those are vacant, and I'm absolutely determined that there will be no compulsory redundancies. We will do everything we can to make sure that any post that's deleted, the post holder is given an opportunity to be redeployed somewhere else. We have a strong record in that, and we haven't had any compulsory redundancy recently. So it also means, Chair, that we have to increase the council tax by the maximum that the government expects us to increase it by, which is 4.99%. So 2.99 for the general purpose and 2% for the adult social care precepts. Obviously, council tax, nobody wants to increase, but you have to manage this because of the situation that we're in. And as I said, government expect us to do that. And nearly all council are doing that. Some are increasing council tax by 9.9%, some are increasing it by 7.99% because of the financial difficulties they're in. I think, Chair, the other thing is that in terms of living wage, we are going to be paying the care workers the foundation living wage, which is the higher amount. And although it will cost us an extra £5 million, we're determined to do that, given the work they do and the amazing support they give to our residents. We recognise that this needs to continue, and that's why, despite having a significant increase in our cost, we're proposing that we will pay them the foundation living wage. I don't think, Chair, there's much more to add to this, apart from to say that we have given a projection for next 5 years. But obviously, as you know, local government in the last 7 years, we've just had 1 year settlement. The new government said they will give us a multi-year settlement in June. If we do that, we'll be able to have a better forecast. But at this stage, for 26-27, we're forecasting an underspend, a gap of nearly £10 million, 9.726 million. And I think, to be honest, Chair, all these numbers will change dramatically once we get the spending review and a multi-year settlement. Obviously, there's quite a lot of details in there. If the Cabinet agrees this, then this will be the main item at the budget meeting on the 6th of March. With this, Chair, I will leave it to you and colleagues to ask any questions they may have.
Thank you, Councillor Jabbar. I don't have anything to add. Obviously, we've worked extensively on this budget, so I'll save my comments for full council. Does any other member wish to speak? Councillor Mushtaq.
Thanks, Chair. Just to say, Councillor Jabbar has thanked pretty much everyone for the work that's gone into this, but he's not thanked himself. So I just want to thank him publicly, because clearly from listening to him throughout this meeting and in other meetings that we have, and I guess this goes back to your leadership from the start of the whole budget process, Councillor Shah, where you said it's not going to be arbitrary cuts. It's going to be a case of us deciding what sort of service we want to deliver for our people, and then we're going to work from that end. And Councillor Jabbar took that, and he's held to that throughout the whole process. And clearly he talked about the challenges within my own portfolio, but the discussions around some of the things that are happening to mitigate those costs, despite the increase in demand, has required cross-portfolio work. And Councillor Jabbar has always taken the approach that we will work to find solutions rather than just cuts. And that's why we've been able to do what we've done, and adults have been able to do what they've done, and the other portfolio holders have been able to do what they've done as well. So I just want to put that on record and thank Councillor Jabbar for his approach, for his wisdom and his experience throughout. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Mushtaq. I think we'd all agree with that. So thank you so much on behalf of us all, Councillor Jabbar. So does Cabinet agree with the recommendations as set out in that report? Okay, thank you. Item 10 is Capital Strategy and Capital Programme 26 to 29/30 and minimum revenue provision policy statement. Councillor Jabbar.
Thank you, Chair. So this capital report gives you a high-level overview of the planned capital expenditure, the capital financing and treasury management activity, approved plans which will have capital financing and treasury management activities. The report ensures that all members are presented with the overall long-term capital investment policy objectives and resulting in investment requirement, governance procedures and risk. The proposed capital programme mostly reflects approvals given in previous years, new schemes and generally funded by new grants or capital receipt so has to keep the new borrowing requirement to a minimum. The forecast program over the MTFS period is 181 million and does include additional resources from in-house provision of social care and temporary accommodation. Again, Chair, I have nothing else to add, but any questions from colleagues, happy to answer those.
Thank you, Councillor Jabbar. Does any member wish to speak? No? Well, does Cabinet agree with the recommendations set out in the report? Thank you. Item 11 is housing revenue account estimates for 25-26 to 29-30 and forecast outturn for 24-25. Councillor Jabbar.
Chair, I think this is a joint report, so if I can hand over to Councillor Taylor, please, and then I'll come in after that.
Thank you. So yes, this report sets out the housing revenue account, and the housing revenue account, or HRA, is a self-sufficient ring-fenced account which ensures the council is able to manage housing stock for the benefits of its residents in a transparent, accountable and cost-effective way. The Labour administration's decision not to increase rents in line with inflation in previous years reflected the inflation surge at that time and the administration's commitment to assist our residents suffering as a result of the cost of living crisis and the after effects of COVID. This year's intended rent increase of 2.7% is in line with government guidance and based on a relevant CPI figure of 1.7% as per September 2024 plus an additional 1%. Although it is forecast that the HRA reserves will reduce further to a final balance of 4.7 million by the time the current PFI contract ends in 2036, balances can still be used to support other council housing initiatives and priorities, such as increasing the supply of quality temporary accommodation, and approximately £4 million has been currently earmarked for this purpose. However, any proposals would need to demonstrate that sufficient reserves remain and that the funds would be fully repaid to the HRA within a reasonable time period. In addition, we are proposing a 2% increase on service charges pending a full service charge review to be concluded during the course of 2025-26. And although service charges have been completely frozen for a number of previous years, it is important to maintain the principle that these charges will rise in line with actual costs incurred, hence the 2% increase this year. Also, for the extra care schemes within the borough, which benefit from a concierge arrangement, the concierge charges will be fully recovered on an actual cost basis and without subsidy from the council. And I'm now happy to hand back to Councillor Jabbar just to cover some of the more detailed budget estimates. Thank you.
Chair, I think Councillor Taylor covered most of it. I think just to highlight that by the end of the financial year 29-30, our reserves balances are projected to reduce by 6.58 million. This is not surprising because in the past we haven't increased the rent in line with the government policy. The reason being it would have been very high. But I'm satisfied from a finance point of view that the way the HRA finance are managed well, and there are no further issues that I want to flag up.
Thank you. So do members agree with the does any member wish to speak? No? Do members agree with the recommendations as set out in the report? Thank you so much. That takes us to item 12, which is Treasury Management Strategy 25-26, including the annual investment strategy, borrowing strategy and prudential indicators. Councillor Jabbar.
Thank you, Chair. So this is quite an important report, Chair. We have to, by statute, bring this to Cabinet and then also take it to full Council for approval. As you said, this report outlines the Treasury Management Strategy for 25-26, the annual investment strategy, the borrowing strategy and the prudential indicators. I'm very happy to say all those statutory requirements, the statutory codes and the best practice have been followed, and we meet and we are compliant with everything that we are required to do. Clearly, this is a very technical report, Chair. If anybody's got any questions, then I'm happy to answer those. But I can give the Cabinet the confidence that we are compliant in each area of the various indicators that's required to be reported and monitored. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Jabbar. Would any member wish to speak? No. Does Cabinet agree with the recommendations as set out in the report? Item 13 is Pay Policy Statement 2526. Councillor Jabbar.
Thank you, Chair. So again, this one, by law, we are required to produce a public document which sets out the salary of anyone earning over £50,000, and also to name any officers who earn over £150,000. The report does that, Chair. It's a factual report. We've gone through it. There's nothing that I need to add. Again, I'm quite happy to answer any questions colleagues may have.
Thank you, Councillor Jabbar. Does any member wish to speak? Does Cabinet agree with the recommendations as set out in the report? Okay, then item 14 is Oldham Council Armed Forces Covenant and Employer Recognition Scheme. Councillor Dean.
This is a revised scheme, and one of the main aims is actually to achieve a gold standard, and that's a gold standard across the services that we expect our armed services to benefit from. I think there's only 3 councils now in Greater Manchester that aren't at gold standard. We're at a silver standard, so we anticipate that with the launch of this revised document that we'll actually move up a notch and get a gold standard. And that's going to be launched on, it's going to be officially launched, if approved tonight, on Thursday.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Councillor Dean. I think going for the gold award and employer recognition scheme is going to be really welcome, and it's one that I'm sure our armed forces will be really, really appreciative for as well. So as the report outlines, we first achieved, I think, the silver in 2017, didn't we? So a lot of work has gone into this, and not just limited to actually, but ahead of the actual deadline, and that is work including establishing our internal armed forces support network, lobbying the Oldham Partnership on the benefits of joining the Armed Forces Covenant Employee Recognition Scheme, and then expanding that guarantee interview scheme to not from veterans but also to cadets as well. And so I think it's the right thing to do. I think our armed forces have served the country admirably, and it's right that we give something back to them for their service. And I think repledging this actually is a huge commitment to the Armed Forces Covenant. But today we are committing to recognise and remember the sacrifices made to that community, from that community as well, including current service personnel, veterans, their families, and now our cadet branches. I also want to thank James from our policy team, actually, and Councillor Ken Rustage, who lead on this work on behalf of the council as our dedicated armed forces champions. So I think the work that's gone in there shouldn't be underestimated. It's been a lot. I'm really grateful to them, and actually it feels like the right thing to do. And once again, I'm really proud that as a council we always make sure that we value the commitment and the sacrifices that so many people have made. So really, really grateful for you to bring in this here. So does any member wish to speak on that? No? Does Cabinet agree with the recommendations as set out in the report? Agreed. Councillor Jabbar?
Yeah. So, with your permission, I'd like to make a comment about Chris Kelso, who is our Assistant Director of Finance and Deputy Section 151 Officer. Sadly, he will be leaving us at the end of this month. He's got a promotion, a finance director at Merseyside Waste Authority. Chris has worked here for 18 years, and a lot of people don't know this. He's a specialist in PFI contracts, and he worked with us on the contract that we got with Housing 21, and he managed to secure over £20 million of compensation for us, for the council. But on a personal level, Chair, Chris and I worked very closely together. He's been immense support to me, and I want to take this opportunity here. This is his last meeting of the council, to say, Chris, thank you so much for what you've done for Oldham, but especially what you've done for me as a lead for finance. Without your support, I wouldn't have been able to do this job, and I want to wish you, on behalf of Oldham Council, the very best of luck in your new job. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jabbar. And I think, I would like to echo them same sentiments. I think we're really grateful to the work you've done. I know this has been a really extensive work program that we've done in terms of the budget. We've been working on it for the best part of a couple of years, and I hope that wasn't a determining factor for you to agree to that promotion. But I do think I'm really grateful. It takes a lot. I do really appreciate that actually with the best intent, you don't always, it feels a bit thankless at times, especially when we present it in the forms that we do, because people tend to make politics of it. But from the administration, a huge heartfelt thanks to you, and all the best in your future career as well. Thank you so much. And that brings us to the close of the meeting. Thank you, everybody.